Hi everybody, Terry Ryder from hotspotting.com.au bringing you my regular Tuesday evening weekly feature hotspot of the week. Right now, many of the growth markets around Australia are in regional areas, not all of them. There's still some capital cities, some of the smaller ones that are going quite strongly, Hobart for example, Canberra being another one. But in the last 12 months, the strongest price growth that's been found anywhere across Australia has been in regional areas, particularly regional Victoria, also regional Tasmania, and some parts of regional New South Wales. So as markets like Sydney are winding down and getting a lot of headlines about price decline, there are different things happening in the regional parts of New South Wales. And it would be great if media had some recognition that there are bits of New South Wales outside of Sydney, because in terms of vibrant economies and rising property markets, that's where the action is in New South Wales at the moment. Now, a place that fits the bill, there are a number of them, and we've highlighted quite a few of them in this feature in previous weeks, particularly in the second part of 2018. But one of those is Goulburn, a strong, vibrant regional centre not far from Canberra, in fact in the corridor between Sydney and Canberra, which is a pretty good place to be in terms of taking a long-term view about growth. So Goulburn, one of the several New South Wales regional centres to emerge as solid growth markets in the past couple of years. And it's one of those markets that's rising even as the Sydney market is declining. It's had rising sales activity, median price has shown pretty solid growth. Its long-term growth rates are good. In the last 12 months, median prices in Goulburn are up. The units are up about 7%, houses up 5 or 6%. So it hasn't been boom time growth, but the point is that the market's heading in the right direction. Sales activity is rising, price growth is nudging upwards, and the long-term growth rates are good. And the rental yields aren't bad either, sort of 4.5% to 5% are fairly typical in that market. So Goulburn, a solid regional centre servicing the southern tablelands area of New South Wales, near the border with the ACT. It benefits from its location in that growth corridor linking Canberra to Sydney. And there are growing numbers of people who choose to live in Goulburn and work in Canberra, because Goulburn property is a lot more affordable than Canberra property, which is quite an expensive market. Canberra's about 90 kilometres away, so it's feasible to live in Goulburn and commute to work in Canberra. There's also plenty of jobs in Goulburn itself, because it's quite a vibrant, diversified, strong economy. Goulburn's a railhead on the main Southern Line. It's a service centre for surrounding agricultural and pastoral industries, and it's a stopover for those travelling on the Hume Highway. Tourism is significant. It's got a lot of historic buildings, including a couple of 19th century cathedrals. It's got pretty active in terms of sports events. Strong part of its economy is the New South Wales Police College, which is based in Goulburn, relocated there from Sydney in 1984. And it's a fairly major institution that generates a lot of economic activity for the regional centre of Goulburn. It's also got the Goulburn Correctional Centre, also known as Goulburn Jail, which is the highest security prison in Australia. It's a very significant centre for wind farm development and surrounding areas. In terms of employment, health and social care, retail, trade, public service are the leading providers of jobs, but there are many other industries providing significant numbers of jobs in Goulburn, including accommodation and food, education, manufacturing, transport and construction. So it's got that economic diversity that we always look for in a regional centre. Quite an attractive package for investors, affordable prices, solid growth rates, low vacancies, good rental yields. In the last 12 months, over 500 house sales in Goulburn. The median house price is in the low 400,000s, despite having grown over the last 10 years at a rate of 7% per year on average. It's a pretty good growth rate for a regional centre, comparable to many of the best around Australia. So that's an encouraging thing for investors, that Goulburn has shown good, solid, steady growth over time, remains affordable, and particularly compared to prices in Canberra just down the road and Sydney just up the road. Vacancies are low. They've been below 3% for 3 years, and currently they're a little bit over 1%. So quite a tight rental market. Typical yields sort of somewhere in the 4 to 5% range, depending on what you're buying. The future in terms of the economy looks pretty good. Mentioned the wind farm proposals. There are a number of wind farm developments underway or proposed in that area, totaling around $2.5 billion. So that's a lot of investment and jobs coming into the area. Plenty of other types of construction happening as well. There's a $120 million expansion of the hospital, a new performing arts centre being built, a new aquatic centre, $50 million project. There's a new brewery, $35 million project. There's the introduction of a university campus at the Goulburn Institute of TAFE. Government spending 30 to 35 million modernising the town's wastewater treatment plant, a project that has generated 500 jobs, etc., etc., etc. There's a lot going on in terms of spending on infrastructure and various other types of development. There's a new industrial precinct being established by the state government just outside of Goulburn, and there's a $90 million poultry plant as the first resident of that new industrial estate. So these are economic events of significant magnitude for a town the size of Goulburn. One of its strengths is its proximity to Canberra. According to the research, there's about 2,000 people who every day commute from Goulburn to Canberra or Sydney to work. So a lot of people choose to live in this affordable and vibrant regional centre and commute to jobs to either the national capital or Australia's biggest city up the road. It's attractive to young families because it offers cheaper housing and childcare than Canberra does, and the research indicates that quite a few people who have had their careers in Canberra, when they get to retirement age, they move to places nearby there where the real estate's cheaper and the pace of life is a bit slower, like Goulburn. So longer term, things like the Inland Rail project are expected to bring benefits to Goulburn. Number of housing estates happening at the moment. Commercial hub being established just outside of Goulburn, and there's also a new agricultural project in the pipeline just outside of Goulburn, which involves the construction of 3 large greenhouses, each the size of football fields, where lots of fruit and veggies are going to be grown. So lots of economic activity of different sorts. That's one of the reasons why we like Goulburn. It's got that economic diversity. It's not dependent on just one or two sectors. It's in the corridor between Sydney and Canberra. It's close to Canberra, close enough for people to live there affordably and commute to the national capital to work. And all in all, I think it's got many of the qualities that investors should be looking for right now. Turned off the high prices in the biggest cities, the decline in prices that we're reading about every day in newspapers in Sydney and Melbourne. But there are plenty of vibrant markets out there like Goulburn that are well located, plenty of affordable real estate, good growth records, and currently showing price growth, as well as tight rental market and good rental returns. So if you'd like to learn more about Goulburn, go to the hotspotting.com.au website, go to our location reports page, and you'll find a report on Goulburn, which has been updated just in the last week or so. So all the information about Goulburn is right up to date and fresh if you're interested in learning a bit more about that possibility for property investment. that's it for now. Just before I go, remind you that our monthly feature, the live Q&A, which I do on a Wednesday evening once a month, the January edition of that particular service is coming up tomorrow night. So it'll be 6:30 in states like New South Wales and Victoria, 7:30 in Queensland, and you can work out the time difference if you happen to be in places like South Australia and Western Australia. And it's an opportunity for you to throw your questions at me about locations that you're interested in or issues around real estate. So hopefully we'll see some of you involved in that tomorrow evening. So hopefully see you then. Bye for now.